Can I just point out before we troll Pakistan further that they're the only team to have not lost a test to India in the last decade.
We try to post questions on a variety of topics on ESPN Cricinfo Runorder. I don't think we've ever had one which is as difficult to answer from the onset as this one. Which is the second best team in Asia when it comes to Test cricket is the question we're posing. And we've got our entire Asian diaspora to try and answer that question. Osman Samiuddin, Muhammad Isam, and Fidel Fernando all have cases to make either for or even against the teams that they represent. And George Binoy will hope to play a neutral observer in this exercise. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Anyone wants to take first strike with a compelling argument?
I'll jump in with the easy answer before anyone else does. And I'll say that daylight is second, and then more daylight. And then I would say you could probably throw in Afghanistan in there, just their white ball side playing Test cricket. And then I think you can have a hierarchy of the rest. And I'd say Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and then Pakistan.
Ooh, so you already have a top three, okay. And
I do think, if we're talking about silver medals, this might almost be a better conversation about men's javelin than about cricket. Because it's so obvious that India is so much better. I completely agree with Osman. I've covered some India-Sri Lanka matches that were just painful over the last few years. There was one in Mohali in 2022 where I think Jadeja got more runs and more wickets than the entire Sri Lanka team combined.
Can I just jump in and say I was expecting a little more optimism from at least two out of few people, because Fidel, you've just seen Sri Lanka win a test in England. That's not happened in a decade. But okay, all my claims for optimism now rest with Muhammad Isam. Isam, Bangladesh on the back of a 2-0 win in Pakistan. Claimants for the second best test side in Asia?
Yeah, of course. I mean, to be in this conversation is great for Bangladesh because they haven't been part of any positive conversation about Test cricket in a very long time, probably the first time in their history. They won an overseas series after 15 years, and even the one they won before against West Indies, that even Bangladesh's hardest, their most ardent fans wouldn't agree that it was worth the win because it was a third 11 from the West Indies. Whichever way you look at it, I mean, Sri Lanka and Pakistan are obviously higher ranked teams than Bangladesh in the world rankings, and now because of the World Test Championship and how Bangladesh have played in the last series against Pakistan, they've suddenly become the flavor of the month. Although Sri Lanka are trying to take that thunder with that win in England, but I would still say that this sudden spate of consistency is great to see, and it's great to be in this conversation.
So now that no one has put either of these three teams at number one, my job is done and I can log off. Now that India
I was gonna I just remembered that the Delete Trophy is on, and there's an India B, an India C, an India D side. Actually, this whole show is gone, man. We've got the top four teams in Asia. It's India A, India C, and India D, right? And the rest can just maybe take a break for a while.
I just thought we'll focus on the international sides to make the conversation a little easier. George, when you look at the last few years, a clear downward spiral for Pakistan. But Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, more wins in the last couple of years, even though it's primarily against each other. How do you assess who stands where?
It's been interesting because all these teams have had away wins against each other in the recent past. Sri Lanka have won in Bangladesh, Bangladesh have won in Pakistan, and Pakistan have won in Sri Lanka. So, there's not much to separate the two. It's just that Pakistan's home record in these last 3-4 years has been woeful, and even like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka have better records at home compared to Pakistan. So Pakistan always used to claim that their fast bowling was above everyone else and could even give India a run in terms of how good they were. But Sri Lanka and Bangladesh now both have tremendous pace attacks as well. So there also the gap is closed.
Usman, let me put that a bit bluntly. Of the three teams, do Pakistan presently have the third best pace setup?
Can I just point out before we troll Pakistan further that they're the only team to have not lost a test to India in the last decade. No, I think with the absolutely, with the pace attack, I think that's one of the serious things that Pakistan have an issue with right now. It's that one, the bowlers are getting injured, which is fine. All fast bowlers run that risk of injury, but the rehab has often been poor. Shaheen is still kind of struggling to reach the heights in his test career, at least, that he had before that injury, that knee injury he had a couple of years ago. His rehab didn't go especially well. That was mostly on the board. He now is kind of further aggravated by the fact that he was made captain and then he's been dropped, and he's kind of at odds with the board a little bit. So there's that whole kind of commitment to Test cricket argument happening. Naseem has just come back from injury, and beyond those guys, there's kind of a lot of faceless, anonymous fast bowlers who are good at first class level but are unproven at international level.
Isam, while we're on bowling, is that one of the most remarkable areas of Bangladesh's upward trajectory in Tests, that this is no longer an all-spin attack? Just saw what they did in Pakistan, that the bowling levels for Bangladesh put them higher up?
Absolutely. We are in this Bangladesh is in this conversation because of the fast bowlers. And the remarkable part of it is how they have transformed this from a all-spin attack into all fast bowling attack. I mean, they have forced the team management now to pick 3 fast bowlers, 4 fast bowlers sometimes, and they have 5 in the squad sometimes. This is something very different from what we had seen between 2016 to 2019 or even 2020 when they were playing at home. It was just a very boring bowling attack with 4 spinners on it. So it's a huge leap for Bangladesh's fast bowling, and I believe that other departments in Bangladesh have to follow suit.
Fidel, when you look at the batting departments of these 3 teams,
hey, I'm not ready to talk about batting yet. I want to talk about the Sri Lankan attack.
Yeah.
Look, they've just had a fantastic outing at the Oval, so to counteract the pessimism in my first answer, if people look through that Oval scorecard, you'll see that it was 4 fast bowlers, which, I don't know if as a Sri Lankan we ever thought that was possible. As someone who's watched Sri Lanka cricket for all my life, ever thought that there could be 4 fast bowlers and no frontline spinners in an attack, and they could go overseas and they could get England out for 150 odd in the 3rd innings. Like, I didn't know that was allowed for us even. So we are speaking at a kind of very high point for. There are no outstanding leading fast bowlers like the vein of Jasprit Bumrah or somebody like that in that attack. But there is like a collective pool of Sri Lankan fast bowling that's probably stronger than it ever has been. In the last 6 years, Sri Lanka won in South Africa, which is probably a win on par or like very close to being on par with India's win in Australia in terms of how incredible it was. So they do have Sri Lanka have had these massive highs and also some pretty haunting lows. Obviously, India are a way more consistent team, but those massive highs kind of occasionally come, and that's been fun to watch.
Whenever Sri Lanka name a squad, I look at it and say, oh, hey, this is a really strong bowling attack. And then over the next week or 10 days, every one of those fast bowlers will, get injured and then replaced, and the replacement gets injured. But they have this real depth, about maybe, 7, 8 fast bowlers now to choose from. And their limited overs complement is completely different. As in, they have a whole different set of limited overs fast bowlers as well, who were not part of this Test series in England.
Do you think the argument for Bangladesh, Islam, potentially is that they have possibly the most consistent batting unit of these 3 teams? You look at that middle order, you look at the depth with, as George pointed out, Mehdi batting at 8. Do Bangladesh have the more complete batting unit?
On paper, of course, and obviously they did well against Pakistan, but we have to remember that this batting lineup has had a really terrible run for the last 12 months. So now they're finding their feet. Mushfiq obviously is the leader of the pack now because of Tamim going back in the background, not playing Test cricket for a while. There's no Mahmudullah. Shakib isn't the batsman that he was 5-6 years ago. So there is Mushfiq, there is Mominul, but consistency is a bit of a problem. when you have number 7 and 8 rescuing you or bailing you out from 26 for 6, obviously that's a problem. But they have given some glimpse. Guys like Shadman, Zakir. Zakir played an impressive knock, but albeit a short one. But they have shown a bit of quality at times. It all came together against Pakistan. Pakistan was great. If they can push India, if you go by their previous tours, push them to the 4th day or the 5th day, that'll be great. But obviously, Bangladesh have some confidence behind them now.
Okay, so let's start getting into closing argument. Who is second best in Asia right now? I'll start with you, Osman.
Sri Lanka probably edge it out for me, just given the depth of their pace attack, just also the recent victory that they've had in England, plus a little bit of promise on their batting side. Bangladesh have, whether the middle order has a lot of depth, a lot of experience, which is one of the big differences that was seen in the Pakistan series. But yeah, you put a gun to my head, I'll say Sri Lanka.
I'd go with Sri Lanka as well, because it's a close one between all three, but Sri Lanka's recent results in England and then their success away in Bangladesh as well.
Yeah, this is the closest triangular we've seen in a while. Isam?
I'm going to surprise you guys. I'm going to say Bangladesh. Of course, they are not, they haven't got the record for it, but I think on potential and the fact that one of the most key things that has happened in Bangladesh in the last 1 month is that the previous board president is also gone. That is a huge burden off for Bangladesh. So I'm sure they're going to do. They've already shown without distraction how well they can play. That was one of the key points of this tour in Pakistan. So I kind of think that they're going to push it now and already 4th in the World Test Championship. So I'm going to say Bangladesh.
Fidel, you have a shot at history here. If you vote in favor of Bangladesh, you could ensure a tie in this triangular.
No, we can't. We have to keep Nagin rivalries alive. We can't. We can't go in that direction. I genuinely think that Sri Lanka have a promising test team because they have quite a few young players who have a big. We haven't even talked about Kamil Mendes, who averages like 77 after 2 away tours. Hasn't played much cricket at home at all. And there is a core of a team there that's all in their mid to late 20s that could carry Sri Lanka forward in the next 7, 8, 9 years. And yeah, I agree with George and Osman that while to some extent it feels like a race to the bottom, Sri Lanka are the furthest away from the bottom.
What this Runorder should have been really about is which of the countries has the best cricket administration.
I don't think that can be covered in one video.
Yeah.
I think that's a multi-part series, which Osman might already start us off on. But that's something to keep an eye out for the future. That could be the next topic. All right. Almost unanimous verdict here. Sri Lanka are the second best team in Asia as per the Runorder panel. Is some voting for Bangladesh, the others in favor of Sri Lanka. What do you think? Tell us in the comments section and stay tuned to ESPN Cricinfo Runorder.